Good evening and welcome to this edition of The List on UWW-TV. I'm Brooke Souls.
And I'm Liv Yost. For the next few minutes, we'll present our top 5 sports stories of the week and discuss why they made the top 5. Does your top 5 make our list? Let's find out. At number 5, the Warhawk women's basketball team falls to UW Stout in the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament, 62-56. The Warhawks finished the season with an overall record of 24-7 while going 9-5 against the WIAC. Brooke, I know the season didn't end the way we wanted it to, but what were some highlights of this season and what can we look forward to next season?
Thanks, Liv. Yeah, we know in the regular season games, Whitewater really struggled with UW Stout and UW Oshkosh, but they definitely made up for it in the postseason. They made some improvements defensively, offensively, and definitely late game composure definitely came into play for the Warhawks. So one thing that they improved on defensively would be their perimeter defense, along with limiting those open three-point shots that those teams were making and forcing the teams to drive to the basket, again, rather than having those three-point shots. Offensive improvements would be not relying on one person to make all the shots. You know, they spread the points across the board for everybody. Everybody had that chance to get those shots in as well. And for the late game composure, one of the things that the Warhawks struggled with was losing in double overtime to UW Oshkosh. Definitely, they controlled the tempo of those postseason games. One thing to look out for next season are the new leaders for the upcoming Rising Stars for the Warhawk team. At number 4, the Warhawk baseball team traveled down to Florida for their annual spring trip. On the trip, the Warhawks walked off Grinnell College, came back against Carroll University, dominated Sewanee, and defeated Edgewood College, and forced the run rule against LaTourney University. Liv, what expectations do you have for this team for the rest of the season after this spring trip?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a struggle bus for this team. They did have to come back against Carroll, and they did struggle against some of the other teams that we didn't look like we should have been struggling against. You see that we have a new pitching lineup, which I can tell is a part of a reason why this team has made some ups and downs throughout this spring trip. But Adam Kuway had 3 home runs over the trip, and Eli Frank added 1 more to that. So you see our batting is successful as it was last year, so I expect that to continue throughout the season. I expect them to make the WIAC tournament once again and defeat La Crosse once again as they did last year. I expect this team to be successful and make it down to that national championship once again. You have to look out for La Crosse and those other teams that we didn't do so well against last year. And I can see that it's gonna be a little bit tougher this year, considering that they don't have that starting pitcher as they did before. We're looking for new hands, new faces to come and step up and be a part of this great team. And at number 3, spring training is coming to an end, which means it's almost time for opening day. With the expectations of the Dodgers and Cubs, who are playing in the Tokyo Series, the other 28 MLB teams will now be making their way back to their respective cities and stadiums as they get ready for the season to officially begin. Brooke, which teams are you expecting to perform well and which teams are going to struggle?
Thanks, Liv. Obviously, we know the big one, the Dodgers. They have been a powerhouse team for years. They have truly built up their roster, and they've worked hard to maintain that. The Mets are another good team. They've made a big splash in the MLB right now. With record-breaking signage, they signed Juan Soto for 15 years at $756 million, which is just crazy. And then we also have the Atlanta Braves, which they should do well. They are primed for postseason success with a core group of Ronald Acuna Jr., Brian De La Cruz, and Matt Olson, and Austin Riley. There are some teams that are going to do bad, as always. Sports is a business. The Marlins roster, they're just super young right now. But I think they'll be a contender within the next 3 to 5 years. But again, they're very rough around the edges right now. Their best player, Sandy Alcantara, is destined to be traded soon. rather than later than sooner. But the Marlins, they'll come back eventually. The White Sox is another just atrocious team, but hopefully they'll make their comeback. And then the Rockies, they are truly struggling as well. They have a good farm system going, but again, I think they're going to struggle in this postseason. We've got more coming up on the list, including a discussion on Selection Sunday and NFL free agency. We'll be right back.
We'd love to show you what it's like to be a Warhawk.
Come on!
Don't miss out on your chance to be a Warhawk.
At UW Whitewater.
You belong here.
Matt checking in to see how Sam is doing on his project, and it's getting close to exporting now, the final step in the process. And it is complete, and Sam is hyped. Finally gets complete and spikes the ball into the end zone. Sam's celebrating with his colleagues, and they throw a flag on the play. The ref's going to call excessive celebration. Sam is in disbelief and can't believe it. He tries to dispute the call, but the ref is not having any of it.
She's always had it. Pure ambition. An unbridled self-confidence that most people only dream of. You see it driving her, empowering her, and in time, you see it fueling her future. Perhaps even helping her blaze a new trail. All she needs now is a way to make it happen. We are the Universities of Wisconsin. 13 universities. Unlimited opportunity.
Sports fans. We pack stadiums, arenas, and local gyms every day. And every sports fan is uniquely human. Seeing each play with your own eyes, triggering your own emotions. And as humans, we won't agree on every call, but we can act with empathy and consideration. So put yourself in the official shoes. Be more than a fan. Be officially human.
Welcome back to The List on UWW-TV. Let's continue the countdown to this week's top sports stories.
At number 2, Selection Sunday has come and gone. The NCAA bracket is set and March Madness is officially underway. 68 teams begin their journey to becoming the national champion. Auburn, Duke, Houston, and Florida earning the 1 seed in their respective regions. Liv, which teams will make a big run in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, we got to look at our number 1 seeds, Houston, who's 30-4 with LJ Cryer and Emmanuel Sharp at the helm. You have to look out for those players because they are offensively and defensively carrying this Houston team to the championship. Also, Auburn, the other number 1 seed, Joni Broom, SEC Player of the Year, and Chad Baker-Mazara are leading that team as well. And then you got to look at the other number 1 seed, Duke. ACC Player of the Year, Cooper Flagg, leads this team. Number 1 pick potentially in the NBA season coming up. Con Knipple, hometown guy from Wisconsin. He's great. He's playing a season of his life. Florida, 30-4. Walter Clayton Jr. and Will Richard take that team in a tough win for their title to bring them to the number 1 seed. And then you got to look out for 12 seed UC San Diego, who's 30-4, who's playing great this season, who's trying to win it all. They're in that Cinderella spot as the 12 seed, but they have a great chance to make it all the way through. 11 seed Drake, who's also 30-3. can also make it as a Cinderella story for this season. But you also got to look out for those number 3 seeds, St. John's, Wisconsin, who definitely can make a run for this championship. And now our top story of the week. The new NFL League has begun, and teams didn't waste any time making moves. We saw veteran players get released and signed with new teams, a few trades, and some teams re-signing key players. Brooke, who are your winners and losers from the first week of the new league year?
Thank you, Liv. I know last week we kind of discussed about how the Seahawks were in just complete shambles, but I do think that they've kind of made a comeback this week, and they would be this week's winners. Obviously, last week we talked about how they signed Sam Darnold from Minnesota, replacing recently traded Geno Smith, filling that big hole at QB. They also signed DeMarcus Lawrence from Dallas, adding a significant upgrade to their D-line. And then they also signed Cooper Kupp, best free agent wide receiver this year by far. Another winner this week would definitely be the Broncos. They signed one of the top linebackers in the league, Dre Greenlaw from the 49ers, which is definitely a loser of this week. Huge get for Denver, as they've been slightly above average at the LB position for years. Some teams that have lost have been the 49ers. They've definitely been coming off an injury-plagued season, and they absolutely got decimated in free agency, losing Dre Greenlaw, Tonoa Hufunga, and those kind of players. And then the Cowboys, they definitely are not wanting to be a top contender for the Super Bowl. They're just not thinking like it. They lost DeMarcus Lawrence. They just have no moves. Liv, what do you think that the free agents, where do you think they're going?
I think that we have Amari Cooper and Stephon Diggs, both at the wide receiver position, who could look great on the Green Bay Packers, who are looking to do something about Jair Alexander.
And that'll do it for this edition of The List. We'll be back next week to talk up the sports headlines. I'm Brooke Souls.
And I'm Liv Yost. See you next week for more stories on UWW TV.